For today's tutorial, I'll teach you guys how to make this off-shoulder corset. You can see how it is, and with the seam allowance you are going to add. After cutting it with your paper, then you are going to cut it also on the fabric, and how to add all the seam allowance we are going to add. Now let's go to tutorial on how to drag this, and kindly click on that subscribe button and click on that notification bell to notify you whenever I post a new video. Hello guys, welcome to my tutorial for today. In this tutorial, I'll teach you guys how to make this off-shoulder corset. You can see how it is, and it's not that exposed. I just remove 5 inches. That's how you want, but this is sort of like 5 inches. I remove 5 inches at the hop. You decided to go with 6 or you go with 7, but for me, I don't want my chest to be that exposed. That's why I remove 5 inches. And I'll teach you guys how to drag and cut, and how to place it on your fabric and add your seam allowance, because I'm going to cut it with this paper without adding my seam allowance. Then I'm going to replace it on my fabric with seam allowance, and I'm going to teach you guys how we are going to do that. I want you to stay tuned and watch this video. Now I've removed 5 inches. You are going to place your tape like this. Use 5 inches, then 5 inches to 9. This is where I drag my bust line. You can see right now is my chest line, my bust line. 5 inches to 9, that is my bust line. 5 inches to 10.5, that is my bust point, and 5 inches to 13.5. This is where I drag my under bust, and 5 inches to 17. That is my waist, because my waist is 16. Then I added 1 inch seam allowance, half inches at the up and half inches. Now let's go. Then right here I mark my back, which is 7.5. Then I add half inches, which is 8. Then I come right here at this. I also mark 8 inches. That is why I make this straight line. Then what we are going to do now is that we are going to go for our nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 4.5. Then we are going to mark 4.5 all the way down like this. You can see this is 4.5. You start. Then you come to your bust line also. Then you mark the 4.5. Then you come to your chest line. You mark the 4.5. Then you are going to make a straight line like this. Now after that, then you are going to come to your waist. That is how you want it to be. Then I will add, I'm going to use 1.5 at my waist. You can see, you can decide to use 1 inch. That's how you want it to, how do you want your corset cup. You can call it 1.5, but for this today I'm using 1.5. Then after that, I'm going to connect it to my bust point. Then with the help of my French cup, I'm going to do that. Then you connect it like this, and see how it is. Then you come right here also. Then you connect it to your bust point. Remember, I connect it to my bust point. Then you make it gently. You can see how it is. Now after that, I can see what I have. Then what we are going to do right now is that we are going to come right here at your bust line. That is where we will be marking our armhole. Then you go for your bust. My bust measurement is 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. Then I'm going to mark my 9.5 inches right here. Then what we are going to do now is that we are going to come right here at this chest line. I'm going to mark half inches towards my center front, then 1 inches toward my side part. Then how do you do that? You come right here, you mark half. That is my center front. Then you come to your side part, you mark 1. You can see what I have. Then after that, you are going to connect it to this point, which is your bust point from up. Then with the help of this, I'm going to connect it like this. Then you connect it slowly like this. Then you come to this 1 inches also. Then you connect it. What you did for the center front, I'm going to do that also for the side part. You can see what I have. I connect it together. Then you mark, you check what you have. If I check here, I'm having 5.5. Then if you check here also, I'm having 5.5. They are both the same. This is 5.5, and right here is 5.5. Sometimes you may mark it like this, and you have 5 here, then you can have 5.5. You are going to add it at this up to make it equal, because when sewing it, you are not be shortened by any fabric. But when I calculate it here, I'm having 5.5. Then I measure it here, I'm having 5.5. Now let's go for the center front. I'm going to mark half inches. Start from your bust line. You can see I marked half inches. That is how it is. Then you come right here at your chest. Then you mark half inches also. Then you starting from your bust line, your chest line. You mark it at your bust line, at your under bust of half, then all the way to the waist. Then I'm going to make a straight line like this. Then after that, now what you are going to do right here is that you can decide to leave it straight like this without cuffing it, or you go with cuffing. Remember, I don't want it exposed. I remove 5. You can decide to leave it straight, then you cut it out. But for this tutorial, I want this sort of like slant at my cleavage, that is at the middle of your boobs. Then I'm going to come by 1 inches because I want it slant. So if you calculate it, the half inches that I removed from here, the 5 inches, this 1 inch is 6. It's not that exposed that will be bringing out your cleavage. Then I use 1. You can tell to use 3. That is how deep you want the center front to be now, or how low rather. Then I'm use just 1 inches, all making it 6. Then I'm going to connect it from this to this side. Then you connect like this. That is any different kind of neck style you want. You can see for this I use slant. You have to use sweetheart neck. You can just use round neck. You can see you can use round neck for it. That is how you any style of neck you want. So I just used this slant, then I came down by 1 inch. Then what you are going to do now is that you are going to come right here. You can see what I have. You come to your bust point. You are going to connect it from this bust point to this under bust. Then you come like this. Then you connect like so. You can see what I have. I just connect it from my bust point, then I stop at the under bust. I connect it from my bust point, then I stop at the under bust like this. Then I drew. Then what you are going to do now is that we are going to come right here. Then if you want to do it there, because you can, if you see the side boob is more than the front boob, the center front, so we are going to give more room so that our boobs can rest. Then what you are going to do is now is that let's go. You can remember that I have 9.5 inches here, which is my now I'm going to come like this. You can see. Then you rule it, then just to make our armhole. Now right here is I drafted my armhole curve here. You can see what I have. Then what you are going to do now is that you are going to connect it. You come right here at where I marked. I'm going to mark half inches. You can see what I have. From this line that I drew, I mark half inches. Then I'll come by 1 inches like this. You can see I came down by 1 inches. Then you make a straight line. That is how you want it to be. You can decide to stop at your bust point. Then let me stop at my bust point. Then I'll make this straight line to my bust point. You can see what I have. I stop at my bust point. From this line, that is the 8 inches that I drew. Then I came out by, yes, I came out by half inches. I came out by half inches, then I came down to my bust point. I came out by half inches, then I came down to my bust point. Then I'm going to connect it from this point to this. Then you connect it from your bust point to your under bust. Then you can try to use your ruler for that. Then I'm going to connect it like so. Then you connect it gently like this. You can see what I have. Then you come to this point. You are going to connect it to your under bust like this. You can see. That is how good you can use a French cuff. Then we are going to connect it like this. You can see that is what we did for this part. We also did for your part. From this part, I stop at my bust point. Then I connect it to my under bust. Likewise, from this, I came out by half inches because I want my boobs to rest. I don't want it tight at my side. Then I came down to, I stopped at my bust point. And after my bust point, then I connect it to my under bust. That's what I did. You can see what I have. Then right here is my this side is my armhole. Then like we have now, we are all through with this. Then let's go for our circumference. Now remember this part we use 1.5. Then you are going to add this side we use 1.5, but right there you are going to add 1.5 also, so that you can have enough fabric. Then if you wish, you can go with 1 inches, because this 8 inches that I use is even more than my chest measurement. My chest measurement is 13, which is 6.5, but I use 8 inches because I don't want it to be shortened by fabric. After sewing it, I want enough fabric, so that's why I add. Then you can try to leave it like this, or if you are not sure, you can use 1.5. You add the 1.5 that we remove here, you add it back. But for this tutorial, I'm going to add 1.1 inches rather. I'm going to add 1 inches. You can see what I have. Then you come right here. At this side, we are having half to quarter, and I'm going to add a half to quarter again. Remember to add all your measurement that you use. Then I'm going to come right here, 3 inches. Then before you come right here, you're going to mark my under bust is 32, which is 8 inches. Then you mark the 8. Then I'm going to check what you have here. I'm having 3 inches. Then I'm going to add the 3 inches back. You can see what I have. Then you come to my weight. My weight also is 32, which is 8. Then I'm going to mark 8. Then you add the 3 inches allowance that we use here. You are going to add it back. Then you can see what you have. Then you join them together like so. Then we have something that looks like this. Then we join. From here I'm going to we have something that looks like this. You can see what I have. Right here is my side, right this is my boobs, and this is my center fold. Remember, we are cutting just cut one part. Then you want to cut, we are going to fold it. If you remove it like this, we are going to have another part, but for this just one side part out of my boobs, out of my chest. Now what we are going to do now is that we are going to indicate it for. Then I'm going to put sort of like one single arrow for this to be where I'm going to join. While this, I'm going to put double arrow because this is where I'm going to join to my center fold, just to indicate it when joining it. You can see what we have now like this. Then I'm going to put 2 arrows also here, just to indicate that right here will be where I'm going to join to my armhole, while this will be where I'm going to join to my center front, and I'm going to join this together to raise my boobs. Now this is now. Then I'll put 1 arrow. Then what we are going to do now is I'm going to replace it with this fabric. I'm going to use this fabric. Then I'm going to teach you guys how to add your seam allowance to it. Now we are going to go like this. Just take any fabric that you want to use. Then we are going to place it like this. Then I'm going to add like 1/8 inches to it. I'm going to place it on the fabric you are using like this. Remember that if it's for you, it's going to be 2. One for one boobs, another for boobs. Just for tutorial, I only teach one boobs. So now you're going to place it like this. Then you're going to add 1/8 inches like so. You can see what I add. Just 1/8 inches like this. I don't know, maybe you guys can see my chalk. Then you're going to add all the way around, or you can decide to use your pin to pin it down. You're going to mark it. After pinning it down, just 1/8 inches like this, not up to ½ inch, because if you have an inch, you have enough seam allowance that you will not even like, because you are going to start amending it, but you are going to add just 1/8 inches to it. Then I'm going to chalk the 1/8 inches. You are going to chalk it around like this. That's what I did. Then you chalk it gently. Then after that, I have something that looks like this. Then I'm going to cut it out because I've added my 1/8 inches to it. Then you cut. Use your paper pattern firstly, then you place it on your fabric, because if you use your fabric, you won't get it. But make sure to get the paper pattern, to draft it on a paper pattern. Then you can see that I've added all the same allowance to it. So now we are going to use this to sew it. Now I'm through with this part. Then I'm going to take another, which is another part of the boobs. Remember, if you want to cut it for you, this will be 2, not 1, because I just used this for tutorial. Then you're going to place it also like this. You can see what I have. Then you pin it down. Then after that, you chalk it the 1/8 inches that we want to use. Now you can see what I have. I have something that looks like this. Then I'm going to cut it like add 8 inches all the way down. Then you are not going to leave this on this paper, except you want to see it just to indicate the arrow. You can decide to use chalk on this fabric for your arrow. Then you come right here also, then you use chalk on your fabric. You can see what I have. Then you chalk it, you can see, like this, just to indicate it. Then I put this aside. Then I'm going to take another fabric. This is my side, that is the part of my armhole. Then you place this gently like this. You can see what I have. Then you are going to pin it down like this. Then you pin. After that, then you are going to shape. You are going to use 8 inches like so. Then you use it. You can see I've added all my seam allowance to my armhole part. You can see. Then I'm going to remove it again my fabric. Then the last, which is the center, is my center part. We are going to place it like this. Then you pin it down. Then it's more advisable for you guys to add more inches seam allowance, inner seam allowance. You can try to add it. You can remember that at my 38 inches with 9.5, I only added the allowance that I cut away. So if you want to seam it, if you want to draft your own, make sure to add 1 inches, which is your inner seam allowance again. After the 38 inches, which is 9.5, then you are going to add the allowance that you cut away. Then after that, make sure to add the 1 inch seam allowance before you add all these seam allowance to it. Remember to add, I just used that for tutorial, that is why I didn't add any seam allowance to it. So make sure to add your inner seam allowance of 1 inches at your waist, 1 inches at your under bust, and 1 inches at your bust. Make sure to add 1 inches, not to be shortened by fabric for you or for your clients. You can see what I have. Then I've added 8 inches all the way around, and I'm going to cut it out now for you guys to see. Now after the cutting, you can see I have something that looks like this. I've added my 1 inch 2 inches into, you can see all the seam allowance. Then remember what I said, that you have to add 1 inches to it when shaping it out, because I didn't add any inner seam allowance, but this is just seam allowance for all these cups. But make sure to add 1 more inches at your waist. After your circumference, that is your real measurement, you add it. Maybe you are using 32, which is 8, then make sure to add 1 inches for the inner seam allowance. Then what I'm going to explain now is that as I cut it, you are going to cut your lining, that is to turn your rough edges. Then you are going to use this, not the paper, you are going to use the fabric to cut your lining. Then you are going to use this fabric also to cut your pad, that is your tube that you are using, that is your tube pad. Maybe it's hard, medium, or soft pad you are using, but for this I will advise to use medium or hard pad to make it out well, to make it come out well. Don't use soft pad, use hard breast tube to it. Okay? Now you are going to use this to cut your lining. You are going to use this to cut your pad, not the paper. I just used the paper to follow it. Then make sure to indicate it what I did here. The one thing I'm going to advise is that when you use your fabric to cut out your lining, make sure to sew it finish. Then after joining this, remove the paper. Then you join all the fabric. After joining the fabric, then you go ahead and join the lining. So you are going to use it to turn it, not that you are going to place the fabric, the breast tube, and the lining, then you join. No, you are still going to have rough edges. So if you want to join, you are going to join the fabric. Then after joining the fabric with your breast pad, then you go ahead and join only the lining. Then after joining the lining, you are going to use to turn it. Believe me, all your rough edges will be inside. Now you can see what I have here. After joining my corset, I joined the fabric only with the breast tube. Then I join my lining. You can see that all my rough edges are inside. Then I use the lining to turn it. Not that we are going to join it together. You can see my lining is separate, while my breast pad, my corset, and my lining and my breast tube, rather my corset and my pad are different from the lining. You can see the lining, I use the lining to turn it after joining my press, my fabric and my tube separate, then I join the lining separate, then I use it to turn it. You can see what I have, and I have a perfect back up here. You can see what I have, and I use my lining only to turn it because I don't want the rough edges to be outside. Then the lining is separate from the fabric. Now you can see what I have right here. Then this is what I cut also. Make sure to join your fabric with your pad. Then after joining it, you are going to use the lining, join the lining separately, then turn. Now you can see what we have. Thanks for watching Just Stitches. Kindly click on that subscribe button and click on that notification bell to watch the back, because I'm still going to post the back. If you want to be notified with the back, but make sure to press that subscribe button. And kindly click on that subscribe button and click on the like button to notify you whenever I post another new video. Thanks for watching Churches, and also follow me up on Instagram to hear more details about upcoming videos at Just Stitches. Kindly follow me up to hear more about upcoming video. Thanks. See you in my next video. Bye.